So Cav would treat those students almost like family. I mean, they were close to him, especially those students who would give the best effort, the students who would get involved, those students who would, make a name for themselves in a positive fashion on this campus. He was one of those people who would, certainly push to have that student, or push to have that relationship with that student. I was dorm director in 1998, so I lived with the students. During that time frame, I went to the weekly Project Prepare staff meetings, gave updates. One of the things that came about during that time period is I got hired at another job. But I fell in love with the idea of helping the at-risk student population that was coming through with Project Prepare. It was a student who I was when I came in. I was a sign-up student for Project Prepare because I met the economic criteria and academic criteria when I came through as an undergrad. So it just became a passion of mine. And January-ish, January of 1999, one of the staff members resigned to take a job teaching English somewhere. So Cav called me, Dr. Cavin called me and said, would you be interested in coming in and interviewing? And one of my last conversations with Dr. Cavin were reminiscing about that interview because I'll never forget walking in the door, Laura Deal was there and she said, I hate to tell you this, but this is the first time I've ever had to cancel an interview for Dr. Cavin. And I was kind of surprised because he never missed work. He never missed work. And I said, oh, is he okay? She said, well, they were down in Lipka Hall at that point. And they were getting new carpeting. It was when their building was first built, or brand new. And they were putting carpeting in. And Cav went to jump over the carpeting that was in the office, and he tripped over it and hurt his knee and had to go home. So my interview was pushed back a few days. So I came in, I interviewed, and I ended up becoming the Project Prepare academic coach for about 1.5 years. Here's this guy who all the students kind of talked about. My friends, especially those who were involved with Project Prepare in the BSU. And you would hear the name Dr. Cav, DC, or AC, and finally I was able to put a face with the person I've heard so much about. His personality, it's who he was. I mean, it was his drive to make the world a better place, and that's how he thought and he did. I mean, without question. He loved what he did, and he showed that, and that's one thing that, if I can get one thing across, he loved coming in every day and doing what he did. He loved working with these students. He loved talking to his colleagues from school to school. It was what he enjoyed most in life. So, I mean, I could see Cav was one of those people who thought there was bigger things, or there was things that he needed to accomplish, and this would make the world a better place. He was a person who was very deep in thought. He was always trying to examine situations or people. Dr. Cavin always had a story to go with anything you could think of. Whether it was his story about when Chester High played Overbrook and he saw Wilt Chamberlain, or whether it was his love affair with the Philadelphia Phillies, or how when he went away it was his anniversary, and him and his wife were in Chicago. Him and Gwen were in Chicago, and they went to a Phillies game, and I think Harry Callis said, hey, Dr. Cavin and his wife Gwen are here celebrating their anniversary, and it was on the TV feed, and he taped it, and he was so excited, and then somebody taped over it, and he lost that footage. So he always had a story. He always had something to kind of lighten the mood. But when it was time for business, if it was time to get the job done, he was one of those people who was right there on the front lines. Great role model, great mentor. Again, never missed a day of work. Was his mind, his day-to-day life was always the help and the best interest of the student. In any situation, it was more so, these are my kids. I'll never forget him during a summer program one year. A bunch of the students, we believe, were gambling in the hall. So he pulled them aside, and the way he explained it was, this is my baby, Project Prepare. I love this thing more than anything. I love the students who come through this program. Please don't ruin this for me. Let's have a good year. And the students, definitely gravitated to it. They appreciated that he did come to work every day thinking about them. he did, whenever they needed him, his door was open. And that was one of the great things about Cav. Great role model when it came to staff meetings, being an absolute professional at all times. A great friend at that point too, a great mentor as a whole. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for Dr. Cavin. 110%, I wouldn't be here in this seat, working in what I'm working at. He shared his passion for this group, this program, this school, helping everything. I mean, he really did. He was the epitome to me of what I would consider a role model. I've had a few really good ones in my life. You know, besides Dr. Cavin, Dean Bushko, Dr. Blumker, I've been blessed with having some really good role models and mentors. He certainly impacted on my life when he said, "Would you like this job?" As soon as he said that to me, and it was a blessing, and I couldn't thank him anymore. You know, I wish. One last thing I wish I could have had the opportunity to do was say thank you, because I don't think I ever truly thanked him. And he would always say that it was an old coaching metaphor, but potential will get you fired. You have to look above and beyond what somebody's potential is and what their overall drive would be. You know, somebody who's goal-oriented, like Marilyn Pendleton. She's a person who would fit exactly what Cav, you know, dreamed about when he had this program in mind, which was, you know, a program that gave opportunity to students who had that drive to take it to the next level, who would do anything it took. If you told the student, "I need you to climb that brick wall for me to get over it," and if they never climbed before, that they're going to give you everything they got to climb that wall. So that's the type of person Dr. Cavin was in that regard, and certainly he looked at potential, but more so he looked for the drive in that person. More than invested. I mean, truly, they were to him almost family. They were to him his. It was bigger than life for him. I mean, again, he was involved in the Rotary, which, you know, their motto is service above self, and he was selflessness. I mean, it was just selflessness. I just hope one day that I can impact the students that I work on a day-to-day basis the way Dr. Cavin had for me. If I can touch a quarter of the people that he touched in life, I did a good job, and I definitely pat myself on the back and, you know, appreciate that I changed some lives, because he certainly changed a lot of lives. Words can't describe on a day-to-day basis how somebody could always be in a good mood. You know, I hate to say it on camera, but there's some days where I'm having just one of those days, and sometimes my emotions show. He never let his emotions show in that nature. Never. I would never have known if he was having a good day or a bad day by his actions. And he gave you the same rating every day. I don't know if anybody ever told you this about him, but if you ever ask Dr. Cavin, "Hey, Dr. Cavin, how you doing?" He'd go, "Give me a C+ today. Give me a C+." That's the way he would always respond to you. It was kind of his calling card. You know, he would give himself a grade. I don't ever remember him giving himself above a B- on a day, but he would never have known. He definitely was setting a bar to meet for himself, and how much he wanted to accomplish on a day-to-day basis. I mean, he was, you know, another thing, I'm in his position now. You know, I've married, and I'm working with Project Prepare, working at Widener, and he used to get up every day at 5 a.m. to go running, and I do something similar, because, again, we used to joke about it. I would never do that. I do the same thing now. I get up at 5 a.m. But he would stay up until 1, 2, 3 in the morning watching replays of Phillies games or teaching a class the night before. I don't think he slept. I don't know how he did it. And he was always the first person into work every day. It might be the last person to leave. So, you know, Cav was definitely a person who every day, regardless of what your day was like, he would help put a smile on your face. You know, and just something that he would say or do, or how he was throughout the day, you know, just even bumping into him, or him coming into your office in the middle of the day with his glass of ice water, which he would tell you is the greatest drink in the world. It's the greatest drink in the world, Tim. Greatest drink in the world. Cold water is the greatest drink in the world. And he would cross his legs, and he'd kind of lean back and he'd roll the ice in the glass a little bit, and you would hear it, you know, and he would maybe lick his lips for a second, and he would turn and say, and out would come story. Out would come a story about his sons when they were growing up, or again about a sporting event that he went to, or about his life in the Navy, his years in the Navy. I mean, some unbelievable stories that he would just, at the snap of a finger, and it would always try and relate it to whatever was taking place on that day, and that always made it a little bit easier. So it was always, I always looked forward to it, to be honest with our time together, especially when he was my supervisor. I really did. I used to look forward to the times when he would come into the office and close the door and just with the glass of water and, how's everything going? How are the students? Oh, well, this is happening. Oh, I remember when I was in the Navy and I had this person, and this is what I did, and this is how I handled it. And we relate it back to the situation that we were handling that day, and it was kind of a light bulb would go on and to me and say, okay, I see what he's saying. I know what he wants me to do.